Yes, it is.
Okay. Audible as well, clearly.
Yep.
Okay. So we are waiting for tennis to join. Meanwhile, I have started to share my screen, and let's talk about something this series. Then, uh, so this is all about think like an architect series, and thank you, Jigar, today for joining us. And we're looking forward to have amazing session today. Before that, I just want to give a highlight about this session. So all attendees, please be ready with your pen and paper because this is going to be more practical session, not this theoretical. So please attentive and um, stay tuned for the upcoming things. Okay. So let me go. So if my screen is visible, this is the first slide, and let's talk about this series. So the idea of this series is we have planned many sessions. Those are not directly connected or interconnected. Those are related to those are related to architect roles. But the idea is about we need to come up with series to have basic ideas. What is the architect role? What are the things that as an architect you need to be careful before planning any solution and other things. So that's why I have decided to come up with a series. So in this series we have couple of sessions which is covering core things because we have many more things in our architect journey or path, but the idea is we need to cover basic things. Okay, so that's why we came up with this series plan. So let me walk you through more things before move on. uh, this is all about me, this site Virendra. I'm just hosting this all web series for the Think Like an Architect. So currently, I'm serving as a leader of Salesforce Architect Group Indore, and I have many times spoken in tail with the community events and some other events as well. So I've done mentorship as well. Currently, my role is a technical architect at Vaha Innovations. So these are my trailblazer and social profile. You can keep me follow. Okay. So this is just season titles we have along this series, and the season one already done by Anand. I hope you enjoyed, and if you have not watched this video for the season one, you can go through the YouTube video which is available. I will also share the link in chat. Meantime, and we have more sessions which is going to be in future and today as well. So today we are going to focus more from the business problem to solution blueprint, and today we have Jigar with us who is going to explain how business problems comes or business requirements comes from the client side or from the enterprise industries, and how we plan the solution for those things. Okay, the next session is going to be where we will clear our fundamental things related to data security and integration, because we understand in an architect role these are the three core pillars we will have to be take care. We have many more, but data security and integrations are the major one. So we are going to cover into the next session. And for this session 4 we have something which is going to be related to multi-cloud thinking. We will have to make some decision before planning or design any architect related things. So this is all we are going to cover in the session 4. So when we talk about session 5, this is going to be more interesting, and I would love to hear from you. So we will not wait for the session 5, but before session 5 begin, I will share one of the Google form link. So whatever doubt you have, or if you have any questions regarding your design, if you have faced any kind of challenges in your development journey, architect journey, or any projects, what you can do, you can submit your questions throughout that form, and we will review all those questions from the attendees, and we'll discuss over the session number 5. Okay, this is all the idea we have. So I will just share the question answer link with you at the end of the session, and please try to submit as much as possible questions, and if you have any complex things to design that you are facing some challenges, please feel free to submit those as well. So we will have a panel with many architects, CTA, and we will discuss those things there. Okay. Okay, so session 6 is all about final, because whatever we are doing throughout this series from session 1 to 5, this is all about our learning. And in session 6 we will have to deliver something, so we will arrange one in person event in April, uh, where we will have some final assignment or cues, or let's gathering kind of thing. Okay, so stay tuned for all these upcoming sessions. So before handing over to our speaker, this is something I have for you, that we have announced in the last session as well, in session 1. So what you can do, you can contribute to the community and just spread this think like an architect series in your social networking side, or in your networks. So what you can do, you can share and take our LinkedIn page, and if you are sharing over the Twitter or X, please post and take our page. And also, what you need to do, it's an opportunity to win certification voucher. So for that, you need to just use this hashtag think like an architect Indore. This is the hashtag you need to follow, and based upon the most engagement post, we will choose one person for the certification voucher. So stay tuned for that. That has been already started, you have more time, so please try to share, post, and also repost all your okay, so post. Let me hand it over. Okay, so let me hand it over to Jigar. So Jigar, it's all about you. How you are going to like how you are going to present this session, and I like the idea that we have discussed before planning this session. This is going to be more practical. So uh, I will request all attendees to please stay attentive and keep pen and paper handy at your side. So whatever things you are learning, please keep a note. Okay. So we all know about Jigar. I have one personal experience to share with all of you. We have attended Salesforce Days, event, and I got the opportunity to connect with Jigar there in person, and I have connected earlier as well. But in person, the opportunity was we were attending a Whale Architect workshop, and fortunately, we were part of single team, so we got many things to discuss there, plan something related to architect. So that's a great learning for me. So I hope you will have a same opportunity today as well. So stay tuned. Over to you, Jigar.
Thank you, Virendra. I'm just going to start sharing my screen. So
Sure.
if that's okay. Yeah. Just give me a second, guys. All right. Okay. Um, can somebody confirm if they're able to see my screen?
It's visible to me.
It's visible, right? All right. Okay. So we're just going to pick up from where we left. Virendra, just be. I know we have a limited time, so
Yes.
just ensure that if I'm going overboard in terms of time. Just nudge me. Yeah. So first of all, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in on a Saturday morning. Really appreciate you taking out the time. We're going to be looking at, and Virendra, thank you for that introduction and the kind words. We're going to be looking at, a very practical approach in terms of how does an architect really look at a business problem and transpire it into a solution blueprint. And we're not going to be only we're not going to only hear about it, but we are going to do things. So, it is a show and tell, right? So that's how we're going to, that's the objective and the intent of the session. A little bit about me. Yeah. So my name is Jigar Shah. I'm a Salesforce MVP, and I've got a couple of Salesforce certifications under my belt. During the 40-hour labor work week, I work in the capacity of the vice president at Achieva, which is a platinum consulting partner for Salesforce, and we also build a lot of our own products. Shameless plug: we are hiring. So if you think you know you're looking for an opportunity, please do reach out to me. But having said that, spoken at a lot of community events. I've been a Dreamforce speaker. I've spoken across the community events globally. I'm also the co-leader of the Pune Architect Group, and I've been the co-organizer of Apex Hours and Part 2 Code. So if you've kind of heard these channels, yes, I've been working alongside a lot of great MVPs from this ecosystem. I used to block and learn SFDC with Jigar. I don't know if that's active anymore. Um, Jigar Shah 189 is my LinkedIn as well as my Twitter handle. So even if you want to reach out, probably have a conversation about what we've spoken today, even after this session, more than happy to connect and have this conversation. So that's a little bit about me. A quick secret: beyond the 40 hours work week, I do dance gigs for Salesforce over the weekends. So yeah, um, that's that. All right. So a little bit about the agenda of what we intend to cover. I think today's agenda is going to be majorly focused on, you know, the first part is actually going to be a refresher. So people who've not attended the earlier session or probably never had the opportunity to go through the recording of the first session, the first part is majorly going to focus on, how do you adopt a architect mindset, understand what the role of an architect is, what is expected from an architect, right? And then I'm going to introduce you to the solutioning framework, because our core topic for today is how do we transpire a business requirement and build a solution from that. So you know, what's the secret sauce there? And then while we learn these principles, we are going to apply these principles in real time. I'm going to give you a problem statement, and that's where your pen and paper is going to be coming in handy. So please keep them by your side, and we'll be doing hands-on problem solution, problem statement solutioning. And the fun part of it, once it's not just that you'll solution at the end of, and all of this is time bound, by the way. So at the end of it, you know we would definitely want, give 2 minutes to some of you, where you can unmute yourself, share your screen, I would not say screen, but your camera, and share your solution. That way, it's a good opportunity for everybody to learn and see what you've considered and how you've really applied the entire principles of solution blueprinting throughout the process, and what's the outcome. So it's a great learning in the process. And while we do all of this, there's also going to be something that we're going to provide you with at the end of the session. So stay tuned till the end. Virendra is going to be talking about that. So that's the planned agenda for today. So let me start with a little bit of background, or sensitize you to who is basically a Salesforce architect. And I think, rather than just being a Salesforce architect, who is an architect, right? So an architect, based on my understanding and what I've seen, uh, basically an architect is an associate who basically who recommends the best solution for a given set of requirements. And then I think it's not just about the best solution and the requirements, because most of the people think an architect's job is just providing solution. But what is also equally important in this entire process is identifying the trade-offs, right? And choosing one solution over another. I think it's very important for anybody who's trying to do architecture, um, to understand that there are multiple ways or multiple routes to get to a destination. An architect's job is not only to recommend a route, but identify the best route, while being very conscious of the fact that why this route will be the best in the given situation, and why other routes or other approaches will not work. There is no right or wrong in solution architecture. What is most important is the relevance and the fitment of the recommended solution given the constraints, and that is what is meant by trade-offs. It comes in the fashion of you laying down assumptions and then identifying the guardrails and the boundaries around that. So that's what a primary, um, you know so architect is honestly a mindset. I know, there is a people, a lot of people have that as a designation, but it's a role, it's a mindset. And this is what the mindset is expected to do. Now, when we talk about a Salesforce architect, there are certain terms that are there in the industry, and I've just tried to kind of highlight some of the key terms. There are different types of architect. There's a security architect, there's a data architect, but we're not going to be focusing on all that. So I just try to give you a quick bird's eye view of the three most common roles from an architect standpoint. There's an enterprise architect, then there's a solution architect, and then there's a technical architect. And organizations use these roles, you know um, in a loosely to define what is the designation or the role at their organization, but in essence what these roles are. So a technical architect, so what I did was I just tried to put a graph of the ability of solving the business problem, which is the y axis, and then the technical expertise, which is the x axis. And where do these roles really fit in terms of these two capabilities? Because I think the general understanding is an architect is always technical. Yes, which is yes and no. It's true, but it's not the entire truth. So I just wanted to debunk that mystery here. When you look at a technical architect is someone where the ratio of the technical expertise to the business problem solving differs. Where a technical architect, where it will be mostly 70% technical aspects. It could also mean hands-on development or building stuff, right? But it also is more focused on building the technical architecture. What flows are you going to be taking? Is it going to be a declarative approach? Is it going to be a custom led approach? Are you going to build an LWC? If you're going to integrate, how are you going to? So these nitty gritties of the technical architecture, right? That's what a technical architect really does. An enterprise architect, on the other side, is looking at more business problem solving. So they just don't look at one single system. They look at an entire organizational system landscape. And in an organizational system landscape, there could be many different systems. It is not Salesforce is just one system, just one drop in the ocean. There could be a ticketing system, there could be some homegrown applications, there could be an ETL solution, there could be a data lake, there could be a data warehouse, there could be HRMS systems, there could be ERP, there could be, and all of this again, could have guardrails in terms of the infrastructure and the access. So all in all, it can very soon catapult into a very complex mesh of systems. And how do you ensure that which of these systems should be used for what purpose? That is what typically and is the role of an enterprise architect, where they look at it holistically and they're able to say that, okay, if it's a very CRM specific requirement, maybe Salesforce is the right kind of tool stack, and this is how it's supposed to flow, and this is how the information uh, flows will work in the context of that particular system. But they are system agnostic, right? And now I'd like to just quickly jump on the circle right at the center, which is nothing but a solution architect. So a solution architect kind of strikes a balance between both a technical architect as well as an enterprise architect. uh, the different positions do not necessarily imply the hierarchy at an organization or the pay grade. It is necessarily the kind of fitment in terms of technical expertise versus business problem solving. Most of the times, especially on a platform or a product suite like Salesforce, what we are doing is we are building solutions, right? So there is a decent amount of technical understanding and know-how required, but there is also a substantial amount of business understanding and process flow understanding required, right? And we'll talk about that. So that's where a solution architect kind of strikes the balance. Today's session, we're all, what we're trying to focus on is doing solution architecture, which is a good amalgamation of being, technical architecture as well as looking at enterprise architecture. Enterprise architecture, not so much, but mostly solutioning, you keeping in mind Salesforce as the underlying product suite or the solution stack. Okay. Right. So that's a little bit about the architect roles. So at least now, when somebody asks you, you know you're talking to a technical architect versus a solution architect versus an enterprise architect, in your in your memory or in your mind, you have a visual of where and what could be their typical roles and focus areas, right? And it also helps you align your aspirations and career in this particular direction, right? All right. So, what does it take to be an architect, right? There are certain skills required, right? Most of the people aspire to become an architect, but unfortunately, then they're unaware of the underlying skills, and everybody just feels that, oh, because I know coding or because I know how to code, I can become an architect. That's not true. uh, it's not a mandatory aspect for an architect to know coding, but yes, it is extremely important for an architect to have product and technical expertise. When we say technical expertise, it implies what are the capabilities and the technical capabilities of a particular product. For example, what does marketing cloud provide versus what does pardot provide? What are marketing solutions? I'm just giving you an example in the context of Salesforce. You can extrapolate this to any kind of architect or any kind of solution stack. Okay, so product and technical understanding, the capability of the product is the crux. I mean, that is given, and it is understood that when you are aspiring to become an architect, you have a decent understanding of the product and the technical stack. The second and the most important aspect, which most of the people really underplay and undermine, is the ability to understand business. When I say business, it is the organization. What is a business, or how is the process flow of a particular industry, of a particular organization. Because unless you understand the business, that is what you typically solution for. The destination is to solve a business problem, and technology is your tool or an ally, right? uh, Without knowing what tools and how those tools function, and without knowing what is the problem, you will not be able to solve it or really use it effectively. And an architect's job is to use all of this knowledge effectively to solve that problem. One very important aspect, again, we're not going to focus on this, but I do want to call out this because a lot of people do not focus on these aspects, is the ability to listen actively and ask the right kind of questions. In today's session, the problem statement will be handed over to you, but in the real world, what really happens is there's no written problem statement, right? You have folks, and typically architects are the one and on the front lines, where they will have a conversation with the business stakeholders and get all these requirements out of them. So it's not as easy as saying that, okay, write down the requirements and give it to me. No, they're not going to. They're just going to give you a single line problem statement. But we are going to take a very piecemeal approach. That is not the focus area for today's session. For today's focus is going to be assuming that you have a given problem statement. How do you take that and transpire it into a more practical solution? So that's what we're going to focus on, right? And last, and one of the most important skills, while you may understand, you may comprehend, you understand the business, you have great product expertise, if you are not able to present your solution, right, in a very crisp and clear manner, then your architecture is not going to be understood, and which implies that there is a lot of resentment that comes through business owners, and eventually all of this falls apart. So when we say presentation, we are not talking about making fancy presentations and having good English and fluency. No, that is one part of it, though. Presentation is, how do I represent the architecture that I have, created mentally? How do I represent the interactions between systems? How do I represent the overall landscape? How do I represent what the process is going to look like? And mind you, this is something that needs to be done for business users or business stakeholders who are probably not understanding your technology. So you got to make it simple, intuitive, yet crisp and clear, and detailed enough so that eventually that can be taken and it is a viable solution that can be built. We are not in sales. People who are architects are not sales guys. We don't sell dreams, we sell reality. We'll be the first one to call out if something is not possible, if something's not feasible. Remember the first slide, ensuring trade-offs. So those are aspects that a presentation skill really entails. So these are the four key skills that any architect, whether it is a Salesforce architect or is it a Java architect, any architect requires, right? So if all of you, any of whosoever on the call is aspiring to become an architect, please work on yourself and please ensure that you're working towards building these skills and honing these skills, because these are the only skills that really will help you become an architect. And that's kind of the core. Yeah. So that's that. Now I'm going to, while I kind of sensitized you guys in terms of what an architect is, what do they do, what are the skills. um, let's come to the real crux of today's session, saying that when we say we have a business problem, how do we take that and, you know, turn it into a solution? What's the secret sauce? Okay. So, the secret sauce is a framework that I have devised, right? And this is something that I have seen and used over multiple implementations that I have been part of different sizes, different industries, different customers, right? So there are certain foundational pillars that form this solution architecture. So it's actually a framework, and it's very easy to remember this framework. If you remember the acronym SOLS CADA, okay, and that's the reason why I've kind of differentiated it, you will remember the entire framework. Okay. um, this framework has actually evolved. Originally it used to be Souls CD. Then I realized that, analytics plays a big part of your architecture or solution blueprint, and hence then it became Souls CAD. And then now, with AI being the core of any kind of new digital transformation initiative, AI deserves a place in this architecture, and hence this entire architecture is now evolved, and it is Soul SCADA. So what does Soul SCADA mean? I've kind of given the acronyms here. S represents systems, right? When you look at an architecture, you're not just looking at Salesforce only, Sales Cloud, Service Cloud. That is not the only thing that you're looking at. You're looking at, there are numerous touch points that Salesforce has and will interface and exchange information with. So these system and these are typically integration use case or integration touch points, and most of the times you build, right? So understanding or listing out the systems is important. O stands for objects, okay, or entities. So basically, any kind of architecture foundation, revolves around objects and entities, and hence it is very important to understand the objects, right? U stands for users. And the reason why this is so important is because when you design an architecture, it's not just a single user persona. Often, when you look at an enterprise landscape, there are different user personas, there are different types of users. And to add to that, these users can be not only personas, and when I'm saying users, these are not only people from different departments or functions. These could also be internal users and external users. You could have channel partners, you could have agents, you could have brokers, you could have a customer is also a user. Depending on all of this, listing down the users is very important, because when you're doing solution architecture, especially on Salesforce, you have to understand the fact that Salesforce is a SaaS solution, software as a service, which means that each, every feature on this solution stack is governed via a license, right? And unless you identify the users, your ability to identifying the appropriate license will not be possible. So when you are building your architecture, you don't just focus. And when I say license, I am not talking about the commercial aspect of a license. That is not what we're going to be is the focus of this discussion. License here is what kind of features does a particular user have access to. Say for example, having a Lightning platform license versus a full-blown Sales Cloud license, or having a customer community license versus a customer community plus license. It's very important to identify and differentiate and segregate the users based on this, and hence licenses has a place in this entire architecture. Now, any kind of system today is prone to threat, external threats, internal threats, and hence having security, authorization and authentication, foundations of security, right? Having an access control system is very important. So security also is very important. When you talk about security, eventually that will kind of boil down to, okay, what are the profiles that I'm going to make? What are the roles that people are? What's my role hierarchy going to look like? What kind of access control mechanism? Who needs create permissions versus who needs read only permissions, versus who is actually be able to modify and delete, elevated permissions. So that is what security really entails. entails. The Now let me move to the second part of the architecture, which is the CADA, right, which is compliance. Not many organizations or not many people take this into consideration, but this is an extremely important aspect of any enterprise solution blueprint. Okay, especially when you're looking and implementing solutions for industries like healthcare or financial services or insurance, right? um, all of this, and especially even countries today, because globally organizations and countries, they have a lot of privacy laws. It is essential that their systems respect and comply with these legal frameworks or compliance frameworks, or else they it could also result in a monetary penalty. Okay, not GDPR, for example. That is the most popular one, because it's a data privacy law provided by the or mandated by the European Union. If you're doing business, your systems have to be GDPR compliant, right? PII. So we'll talk more about this, but compliance forms a very important aspect, and it is extremely important to kind of give it its due consideration, right? And then I want to talk about, today when you look at any kind of system, and when you are right, building a solution on that system, it's not just the features and functions that you're providing. Data is the oil that really runs all of this and ensures that all of this that you have built is making sense. So what kind of data is supposed to be brought in, how much is the data that is supposed to be brought in, where is it going to be brought in from, and based on what are you going to decide that which data needs to be brought in Salesforce or exist in Salesforce? What is their relevance in terms of the analytics? What are the KPIs? What are the KRAs? And that will eventually govern your reports and dashboards, because business users, eventually what they want to use your system for is for decision making. And unless they have the metrics, right, they will not be able to make decisions. And the accuracy of the metric is governed by the quality of the data, and the quality of the data is dependent on multiple factors. Of course, the data integrity, but what data is brought in, where is it brought in from? For example, if you are a healthcare system, or if you're something pertaining to financial services, they have a mandate. These organizations have a mandate, or these sectors have a mandate, that the data from 7 years actually has to exist or be accessible. This is a compliance mandate, right? So hence it's very important. And last but not the least, when you look at the entire architectural framework, now, because AI is such an integral part of any kind of digital transformation. Earlier, what would happen is, the difference between then and now. Earlier, what would happen is, people would design processes, and then they would add AI as a bell and whistle, as an additional feature on top of the process. Today it is different. Today, when you talk about designing a process, and for a moment I would want you guys to understand that when we're talking about solution architecture, okay, we are talking about technical viability and alignment with requirements. Let's put the commercial aspect out, because I know some of you will think that, oh, but for a moment, as an architect, you don't need to worry about that. That's a later problem to solve, and we don't need to worry about that, and we're not going to focus on that right now. um, Today, when you design processes, right, you got to ensure that AI is not something that is a cherry on the cake. It is the core. It is a part of the core recipe. So today, if you're talking about a sales process, you are not just going to talk about, oh, the lead comes in and the lead is then assigned via assignment rules. No, today the business wants intelligent routing, which means you need a, a deflection or a segregation use case from the AI engine, where when you're designing the sales process, you're going to ensure that AI does intelligent routing. You're going to ensure that AI does intelligent lead nurturing. You're going to ensure that AI provides conversion probability. Provides a guided selling agent, which allows somebody or a sales guy to provide information. It helps them craft a sales pitch. So do you understand that now when you look at I just gave an example of the sales process, because most of the people here would have had some acquaintance with a sales process in their entire professional experience. But you pick up any, whether it's CPQ or whether it's marketing or experience, any of this, AI should be kind of thought through, and hence again it finds a place in this entire solution architecture framework, right? So I think understanding this is very important, right? um, if you want to note down, that's fine. But I think it's fairly easy to remember. Souls Kada. Yeah. Now let's understand. So I explained to you the framework that you are going to use to really come up with a solution architecture, right? But I want to also explain to you how to do this, saying that you'll tell me, is it like आपने बता तो दिया कि all this needs to be extracted and this needs to be a part of the solution, but how do I do it? I don't have experience. Okay, so I actually have a very simple set of 9 steps to come up with most of the things that will help you craft your solution blueprint, right? So basically, when you were assuming you have a problem statement in front of you, most of the times what you should do, you should start you should start with scouting. So you should start reading the problem statement and start looking at nouns. Now everybody here, I'm assuming, is conversant with English. So nouns are naming words for it. People don't know. So start searching for nouns and underline them. Right now, when you find these nouns, they can be they can fall into one of the 3 categories. And by reading it, you will realize that what these categories are. It could either be the name of a system, for example, ERP, Dynamics, Salesforce, CRM. Example. It could be the name of an object, account, client, code, order. Whatever, user, right? Or it could be a persona, or typically users, a sales rep, a merchandising administrator, storefront administrator, a field sales guy, a field service guy. These are all personas. So start scouting for these nouns and start underlining them. Okay, now when you identify a user, you should tag them as either internal or external. So let me give you an example. You're implementing CRM for an organization where the sales rep is a part of that organization and is an employee of that organization, which means that employee is internal, that sales guy is internal to an organization. So sales rep is the persona, but he is an internal user persona, right? Now let me give you an example of an external user. You could have a lot of businesses are direct to customer, D2C, right? But they could also be dealer led businesses, or distributor led businesses. For example, a paints business, they will not go and directly sell to the consumer. They could, but most of their businesses actually happens through dealers, right? Now in that case, if your problem statement says that personas like dealers or customers who are not a part of the organization, yet they're a part of the ecosystem and still need access to your system or are an active part of your process flow, then they become an external user. So when you're writing users, tag them as internal or external. Okay, then comes the license identification part, and this requires a little bit of study in terms of the product suite. So when you look at Salesforce, most of the times, and this is something that happens is, most of the time when I interview folks and I talk to them and I say, they tell me, oh, I worked on Sales Cloud, and my question to them is, okay, what edition was it? And they go blank, they don't know. So do you know that an edition really defines what kind of general set of features that you have access to? And then think of license as a lens which kind of defines. So think of an edition as a house which has multiple rooms, and assume each of those rooms to be features. The license is actually the key, where each of these rooms will have a door. Now which of these rooms in the house that you have access to is dependent on your license, right? That's the key. So that's how you differentiate between a license and an edition. But it's very important to understand the product and the features, and that is where the licenses come in handy. Okay, another important thing is, when you're doing solution blueprinting, it is not just about the license, it is also how many licenses, because that becomes an active part of your solution, right? Then when you so that is how you kind of identify licenses. And a lot of this will also kind of come in handy, depending on, when you read through the problem statement, you will realize that, oh, this is like a sales scenario, or this is a service scenario, or this is a field sales scenario, or this is typically only a quoting scenario, it is a marketing scenario, depending on what it is, right? So, and then you kind of map this product and the licenses. Another thing that you should scout for in the problem statement is keywords. security keywords. And how do you identify security keywords? Try to search for words like role based access, permissions, hierarchy, single sign on, ADFS. These are just username password based authentication, authorization. These are the keywords that you will use to identify the security areas that will need to be focused on. From a compliance standpoint, this requires a little bit of functional knowledge, but most of the times these also are kind of listed down in the problem statement, saying that as an organization we need to be PII compliant, or as an organ, this is a HIPAA compliant healthcare provider. So these are the compliance keywords that you need to look out for. Again, whatever I'm showing on the screen, this is just a subset. It is not the entire set. It is a good idea, or it is worthwhile to do some research whenever you're actually doing the solutioning, right, in the real world. When you understand what is the industry vertical sector for which you are crafting a solution, it's important to go and research what are the compliances in that industry vertical. For example, PCI is called as the payment card interface, and that is a PCI is a norm. It defines standards of how card data is stored when you're doing integration with payment gateways, or you're storing card information in your system, right? So just an example, but some of these are very these are extremely pertinent. Now, I when I talked about licenses, I talked about a very important point, that it is not only about what license is required. It is also, the question is how many licenses are required. Hence, any kind of numbers that you really encounter in your solution, it could be numbers, could be the number of calls that are being made, the number of customers that they have, the number of cities that the organization has presence in, the number of different personas, the number of different outlets, the number of records that or number of data points that an organization already has. So this is volume sizing. This is very important from two aspects. One, it helps you understand and answer that question of how many users are required. And second, and most important, is when you are building up a system, at least ground up, or even kind of enhancing or modernizing an existing system, the data volumes really help you understand the trade-offs. And that is why it is so important, where whether to implement a certain feature via an out of the box declarative capability, or should I write something custom. This is a trade-off, and volume trade-offs are one of the most important trade-offs. Same way, licensing trade-offs are also very important. For example, you could have a customer who has a Sales Cloud license, and they will have access to opportunities, but you could have a customer who has a Lightning platform license, and they will not have access to some of these standard objects. They will have access to only accounts and contacts, right? So in that case, if you're building something around opportunity with a Lightning platform license, you will have to do customization, versus with a Sales Cloud license, you will not have to do customization. You'll probably can only write a flow and configure and leverage some of the out of the box capabilities, right? So this is the foundational difference. And once you kind of list all of these down, right, what you take into account, and this is something that you will realize after reading any kind of problem statement, is what is the industry domain for which the customer is working. What is the kind of process? Is it a sales process? It is a support process? Is it is it a self-help kind of a process for customers, for dealers, whatever? And then you take into account what could be the AI touch points. Again, this entirely depends on whether the implementation is required to have AI. But in general, when you're looking at solution architecture, or when you're thinking about solution architecture, having an AI touch point listed down really helps, because that could be at a later, implemented at a later point in time. But that is crucial, especially now that everything is required to be AI powered, right? And last but not the least, again, I will kind of defer to my first slide, where the role of an architect is to provide the best solution within the given, by identifying the given trade-offs within the current situation. Hence, how do you identify the trade-offs? You very clearly list down your assumptions, because everything is not going to be crystal clear to you on day one, right? So for example, a common assumption could be that everything that is expected to be built is going to only be built in an English locale, right? it could only have a single currency. These are some assumptions, but the rationale for making those assumptions is also very important. You know, what is the most important thing is your ability to question why some a particular aspect needs to be considered in your solution is very important, and that is what really hones the architect mindset, right? And then when you follow this process, automatically you will realize that you get to the framework that I was talking about, right? So I explained to the framework to you, and then I explained the steps of what steps you need to follow to get to that framework. Okay, now visually, how do you do this visually? And when you're practically doing this, right, the best solution architecture is actually created on pen and paper. If you can create solution architecture with pen and paper, you can use any tool in the world to create a more fancier one, right? But you should be able to do it on pen and paper. In fact, for many years, up until the last year or two, the CTA exam actually had people drawing and writing things on plain paper. They would actually put it on plain paper, write it, get the requirements, put it on plain paper, and then take snapshots and put it in and that is what would be discussed over. So pen and paper is good. We don't need any fancy tools. Yeah. So the easiest way to do this is divide your each paper into four sections, right? The first paper you'll probably have five, I'd say. You'll have systems, objects, users, licenses, security. You can divide your first paper into five sections, and then the next paper into four sections: compliance, volumes, process flow, and assumptions. Yeah. So these are your building blocks of your entire solution. Now what we do is, so once you find out all this, all you do is just tie all of this in with a natural process flow, right? Which of course comes with a little bit of experience, a little bit of functional knowledge and understanding of the domain. Yeah. So that's about how to solution. Now, very early when I was, I was starting to learn all of this. Uh, I had put together a template. It is basically a mind map of, how do I represent all of my information. And I'm talking about a system architecture diagram, because this is one of the most important things that eventually each one is expected to craft as an architect. So I just put a mental map, in terms of saying that how do I visualize this. So every time I kind of think of this, I know which block it goes into, right? So at the center is the core Salesforce clouds. So think of, when I say cloud, it could be, and again, it could be a multi-cloud environment. There could be marketing, sales, service, all of those. And then each of those blocks will have its own functional blocks, right? Which will typically be either logical or physical, actual objects, accounts, contacts, negotiation, or, contract sign. These are the blocks that define that core Salesforce instance. And all of this, if you see, kind of, once you extract the earlier, so it's a very step by step process, right? You extract all of that information. Once you put it in each of the boxes or the sections on your paper, then you use that to craft this particular central section. Once you've done that, the box above is the external channels, right? Because when you look at any kind of CRM or any kind of solution, there is always communication that is going to be coming in, right? And gone are the days of only email. Today we have all fancy channels. We have WhatsApp, we have social media, we have text messages, phone calls, CTIs. There are so many. These are custom apps, in-app notifications. So a lot of those channels, correct? So that is what kind of comes in here. uh, and one of the foundational aspects, the users, remember the users that you had listed down, the internal and the external ones typically come in over here. The reason why it is important is because once you list down, then all you do is just draw arrows from the user persona to each of the solutions to understand what is their authentication mechanism. Is it IP based? Is it OAuth? Is it going to be Active Directory based single sign on? Is it going to be an OTP based authentication mechanism? What, so that is what helps you define this. So you're kind of now double clicking into each of the broader aspects that you laid down, right? So you kind of laid down guardrails. You kind of put all the, you know ingredients, and now you're just mixing them to come up with your recipe. So you've understood the channels, the clouds, and the personas. On the right hand side, I usually place the partner systems, right? When I say partner systems, what does that mean? Like I told you, right? A type, certain types of external users, which are not really customers, but which are typically extension of the internal employees. It could be a dealer, it could be a distributor, right? A retailer. So those could be partner systems here. And remember in the framework there was systems. What are the different systems and the data sources where data is going to be exchanged from? It could be a middleware, it could be an external ERP, all the other systems, you kind of place them over here. So when you kind of place them, now you have a mental map of what is there, what are the ingredients that are required in your recipe. And all you do is now draw arrows in the direction from where the data flow needs to happen. So the arrows here represent the integrations with the external systems. The arrows here define the authentication and the security process. The arrows here define the outbound and inbound communications, right? Notifications. And the arrows here define external portals and communications with partners. So that is how easy it is to come up with a system architecture template once you have the earlier process, this process done, right? And then now, so I'm going to take a pause. And now that we have, kind of understood all of this, what we are now going to do is see a simulated real world problem statement, right? I'll read out the problem statement aloud, and I will give you a little bit of time to internalize this particular statement. And that is what we are going to be using as the basis for our solution blueprinting today. Okay, fair. So when I look at it, before that, a couple of considerations. The idea is to learn, not only learn but apply the principles, because unless you actually apply, especially in architecture, unless you actually apply a principle, you know bookish learning is, kind of is very limited, because you don't understand the pros and cons, right? And the idea is to apply these principles that we have learned to come up with a solution architecture for a problem that is close to a real world problem, right? The expectation of this entire exercise is to come up at the end of it, what we would be expecting for you to put down on paper. One, a set of high level requirements, which could be typically statements, bullet points, right? System architecture, the blueprint of which I just explained right here. Then objects, users. When I say objects, typically data model or ER diagrams. Diagramming is a separate aspect, so I'm not going to dwell too much in diagrams, but I'm sure most of you know ER diagrams, entity relationship models, which what it means. And then the users, right? So users, we're talking about whether they're internal or external, and the potential number of users. Then the potential number of products and SKUs. What are the products that will again go into become a part of your system architecture. But what is important is to have a section or a table which says this product, this SKU, this license, this edition, and a potential number of those licenses, right? What are the kind of security and compliances, and that becomes a part of your high level requirements. Volumetric information, numbers. So if you look at the earlier guideline, there was an aspect where said focus also on numbers, so underline numbers, because and understand and map them. If they are numbers for volume sizing, they are numbers for data, they are numbers for users. What is it, what do those numbers represent? So any number that you see in your problem statement, whether it is a percentage, whether it is an approximate range, whether it is an absolute number, it is very, very important. Okay. And then crafting or clearly laying down the assumptions of what your assumptions have been, based on which you recommend the solution. So that's what it is, right? At the end of it, so idea is to give you 30 minutes. Virendra, I hope 30 minutes is okay with you. And then at the end of it, um, you know we definitely want some of you to showcase what your solution is. And again, please don't feel shy. Nobody's perfect, everybody's learning. So please do not feel shy. Just take it as an opportunity to share and learn. And maybe there will I'll be able to provide feedback to you in terms of how that can be made better, right? And most important, please make relevant assumptions. Okay. uh, don't just assume anything. It has to be contextual and relevant to the business problem that you're solving. Okay, so just a few guidelines, just few things to remember. I know it's a little bit of information overload for you guys on a Saturday morning, but this is what an architect really goes through when a problem statement is handed over to him or her. Okay. All right, so let me unveil the problem statement for you. So this is a use case. I'm going to read it out loud for you so that it makes a lot of sense, and it's going to keep flashing. So do not worry about it. So this use case is for a hypothetical company. It's called, the company's name is Universal Diagnostics, and it is a national leader in diagnostic and preventive healthcare tests. Right, diagnostics. Everybody has, I'm sure, at some point in time, either for them or their family, they've done blood tests or any such tests. So that is what a diagnostics organization does. The company offers a broad range of tests on the human body. It is headquartered in Delhi and has its center pan India, whole of India, right, catering to 100 districts across 15 states. It's also looking to expand to other Southeast Asian countries. UD is basically the short form. I'm just going to save some effort and breath when saying, instead of saying Universal Diagnostics, takes a lot of effort. So UD works in both self-owned and franchise-based centers. Because of strict regulations in health and medical industry, the franchises are owned by certified organizations only. They are seeing an approximate 20% of revenue growth year on year. UD has 500 self-owned centers and 75 franchise centers in India. It works directly with customers as well as corporates for preventive healthcare packages for their employees. UD has a very flat hierarchy but would like recommendations based on their data visibility requirements. The head of sales and the chief customer officer report to the CEO. All of the sales personnel and the center heads of all centers have similar access. While all users can see all customer data, the sales function needs geographical reporting and district and state-wise numbers. The service requests, however, are restricted to only the central servicing team personnel working on the requests. UD currently has the third part of it. The UD currently has the following applications. It has an ERP system to manage customer details, billing, and invoices, a cloud based medical laboratory management system called Lapsys, which helps in automating processes related to specimen storage, data security, order entry, and more. A .NET based web application where customers log in to check their recent and historical reports, book slots, make payments, etc. An overnight upload from the Lapses is made to the backend for this application so that the results are available. They are planning to procure a middleware but are not sure of its value yet and need recommendations. The franchise employees should also use the same Active Directory and Microsoft Excel. All right. So that's the problem statement for you. I'll give you a few seconds to internalize this. I know it's a com- comparatively larger problem statement, but just to give you a perspective, this is how the real world problem statements look like. And to kind of top it up, this is kind of served to you on the plate, in just because you're trying to learn the foundations of architecture. In reality, nobody gives you something like this in writing. It's something that you have to extract, and there are conducting a discovery is an entire different ball game. And this is something that comes out of a lot of discovery and Q&A sessions that you usually have with the business teams. Okay. So yeah, that is what the problem statement is. I'm going to take a pause. um, this is going to keep flashing, so don't worry. And even if you need me to flash it at a later point in time, I can do that. That's not an issue. So having said this, I'm just going to kind of switch my screens and understand if um, everybody has their pen and paper ready. I hope you do. So you can actually go out and start creating those sections. If you want me to show you the entire pillar. One tip that I do want to give you is, when you want to identify the process flow, just like for you systems, objects, and users, you look for nouns. For a process flow, you look for verbs. Okay. So any um, any kind of action item or action based activity is typically what the process is: billing, signing contracts, specimen, for example, taking specimen in this particular case, scheduling. These are all verbs, right? So look for those, because that is what will help you define the features, and then marry the nouns and the verbs to come up with the process flow. You already know what the sales flow is, you already know what the service flow is. Some of the other flows you might have to think about, but yeah, that's what this is all about. So yeah, 30 minutes to go. I'm just going to keep sharing this and toggle between my screens. Just if there are questions, please paste them in the chat window, and let me know. I'm just going to share my I've shared the entire window. I'm just going to switch over to uh, share my specific presentation. Okay, just give me a minute while I do that.
And if anyone wants to say something, please comment over the chat. If you want to talk, I will enable you to be in presenter mode so you can speak. Please say.
Okay, I don't know if my screen's visible.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay,
That's,
fantastic. Fantastic. So just going to make sure that I have this in that both. Yeah, any thoughts, any questions? More than happy to answer. You could put it in the chat window. I'll just try to answer to the best of my ability.
okay. So we hope they have started to think about this particular use case.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's wait for a couple of more minutes and keep sharing the screen with this use case. Can you please open this use case one more time?
I am sharing. Is it visible?
I can see, but it is showing the webinar window, not this slide.
Oh, okay. I'll share the entire thing. Just give me a second. Sorry about that. Alright. Yeah. Better?
Just so
I think, Virendra, if it's okay, instead of typing in, if people want to just unmute and ask questions, I think that's
I'm
okay.
trying if someone.
Or because I'm sharing the screen, I won't be able to toggle, but you can run through the Q&A.
Yeah,
People can post it in the
please say.
yeah, and you could read the questions so that I can answer it for you.
Yeah. So I can see the chat. They all are requesting to see the use case first.
Okay.
Let them read, then we will talk. So feel free to comment over the chat if you want to speak something.
One of the key things to remember, everyone, is whenever you're doing solutioning, I think, before you jump onto any kind of recommendation or solutioning, it is always very important to ask the right questions. So never shy away from asking questions, because that will give you know a lot of depth in terms of understanding the problem statements. Yeah, unless you understand the problem well and clearly, you won't be able to design a solution clearly. Yeah.
Okay, meanwhile, the attendees are thinking about the use case. I have a couple of questions in my mind. So let me ask you if you can help us.
Yes.
So I can read this use case and we have lots of thing there. Okay, it is related to integration, multi-cloud thinking, and so on.
Right.
What will be your primary focus if you think about the integration or the multi-cloud?
When you say primary focus, are you talking
How
about
how, how you start usually?
how do I start usually
Yeah,
thinking about a system?
yes, correct.
My first, so that is exactly why I gave you, if you
Mhm.
refer this particular slide, this is how I start thinking. This is actually something that will help you think. Okay. Sorry, I'm just, yeah. The how to solution slide. I start by identifying nouns. So if you am talking about integration, I
Mhm.
will start looking at what are the systems that are involved. So I can see statements like, you know, ERP, I can see .NET web-based application, I can see this lab-based management system, right? I can see, you know, um, middleware. So this is what I really take into account. So that is what I meant by nouns, right? And then I start understanding what is the purpose of that system, because usually when it's just the system, it's not just the system. There is a purpose, and instead of this, it could be an HRMS system, right? Or it could be another CRM that you are migrating from, right? So take into account those systems. Second, take into account what is the kind of information that is expected to flow from that system, and what is the direction of that flow, right? And when you read the problem statement, you would realize what is the direction of the flow, right? And so what is the system, what is the information that is supposed to be exchanged between these systems, and what is the direction of the flow, right? Now based on that, then you come up with a pattern saying that what are you going to take. It could be a simple fire and forget, it could be a simple nudge, it could only be a mashup, depending on the requirement. And then, or it could be like a entire rest based integration. So this is how you kind of, so it's like making a painting. How many, if some if you have indulged in drawing or painting, you realize that you first start sketching the borders, right? So you kind of identify this and sketch the borders, and then you start detailing out each section. So that's how you go about doing it for integration for each of the systems. That's how you go about thinking through this entire process. Does that answer your question, Virendra?
Yes, yes, yes. That is helpful. We have one more question
Yes.
from Hina. Is there any framework or a mental model which is useful to design something high level?
Okay, I don't know if you were looking at my earlier slides. I did give you a mental model and a framework, which is this Soul SCADA. Okay, again, this is not like an industry recognized framework. If you want to go to an industry recognized framework, you can refer to TOGAF, which is the Open Group Architecture Framework. It's called TOGAF. Okay, but those also will in turn teach you or talk about these aspects, because what the principle or the framework that I've laid out here applies to any system. It is not just Salesforce. We are, because our discussion is very sales contextual to Salesforce, that is why I'm talking about it in the context of Salesforce. But you can take these principles and apply to any system or any kind of system architecture. So use this framework, and that is what we are going to use as the basis for our solution blueprinting today.
I hope you got answer, Hina. Please feel free to speak if you want to. Do you want to speak something or ask any other question or any other attendees?
I think one very important thing is,
Hmm.
whenever you're doing architecture, please understand that architecture is always, any of this activity is always time bound. And no matter what, wherever you are working or whichever, there will never be enough time to um, kind of build out the entire architecture. And that is why, you have to keep practicing this so as to become proficient around this. Unless you do it, it's like a muscle that you have to exercise every now and then, and then slowly you will realize that all of it starts coming to you more naturally. Yeah. So like they say, practice make a man perfect. That's what you guys, that's what everyone needs to do if you really want to. And that's what even CTS do. uh, Most of the times it is not reading and memorizing that CTS do. It is practicing how to deliver a solution, a full-fledged solution for a given problem statement in, let's say, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. So it's actually clocked. So that is one of the important aspects where all of this really makes it even, you know um, a little stressful, but it's all worth it.
Hmm, correct. I have one more question that I experienced personally from my one of the project. So that is related to Infor CRM. And before that, I have not heard about that. What is Infor CRM is all about? And we got the requirement. We need to integrate that Infor CRM with Salesforce,
Right.
and we have limited resource. There is no trial org available for Infor CRM. There is no videos, and we don't know the exact version that client is using,
Right.
because we have many things inside the Infor CRM that was totally new for me.
Right.
So how would we handle those kind of situation when we don't know about the other system as an enterprise architect, or while designing the solution? So how will you think about, and how will we how can we communicate with the stakeholders or the client side to get more requirement or more information about their system? Because sometimes we are communicating with the business person, they will not be able to help us in the technical side or the maybe the integration. So what will be your approach to communicate for that kind of situation?
Right. So there are three basic tools, and the most important tools of an architect that an architect has to use while coming up with a solution. So taking this particular case, one of the first tools is the research. Okay, most of the times when you look at systems, and especially assuming these are, you know industry recognized systems, or at least some kind of presence in the industry, there will be documentation that is publicly available for understanding what capabilities this solution gives you, the features, or worst case you will have to probably sign up and understand, only then some of these aspects will be applicable. But research is very important, because knowing about every tool, every solution is not possible. So there is a lot of research work involved, saying that, okay, let me see, how is SAP ECC different from SAP S4 HANA. If I look at SAP B1, or if I look at an Infor CRM or an Epicore, how do they differently operate, and what are the entities? So usually you will find a lot about the features. Now whether they are integratable or not is something that will be clearly laid out, because most of these products will very clearly lay out the documentation saying that, do they provide an API, is it a free API, is it a paid API, if not, what do they have a separate tool or a license that is required to integrate. So having that kind of research is very important. So that would be the first step. The second step, if you don't really find, and I'm sure you find stuff with that research, it may not be completely helpful, but definitely partially helpful. The second thing is questions, asking questions, right? Most of the times, and that's where I talked about it, is about asking the right kind of questions to the right stakeholders. If you ask what is the version of your Infor CRM to a CEO or a CXO, they will not know it. A CIO, probably you will have to take that question and ask it to the IT administrator or the system administrator, because they are the ones who will know. So asking the right questions, but asking it to the right people also. So that's another part of it, the second part. And then the third best tool, when none of the above things work, the best thing, and that's the easiest, is to make an assumption,
Hmm.
right? And you frame, like I said, when an architect is framing a solution, the solution framing has to be basis the trade-off. If you need an API integration, if the solution is not able to provide that, then you take an alternative approach and assume that, because you've not had any information, you assume that it is not capable of either that, API based integration, or you assume either ways that it is capable of API integration. It entirely depends on the situation and the problem statement that you are solving, and your solution will be basis that, so that eventually, see, the most important part is not about presenting the solution. When an architect presents a solution, this architect also has to defend that solution as to why he made a choice, or he or she made a certain choice. And that is very important, and that is only possible if you have a very clear rationale of why something was done. Okay, so that would be my approach to taking taking an taking a stab at this particular requirement which you kind of talked about, and this is how generally it is done most of the times.
Thank you, Jigar. That will help.
Yeah,
Uh, okay. So, what is the remaining time we have to
I think we have about I it's
do?
about five for
Okay.
10 5 9 minutes, I believe. 12:30, and
Okay.
then we started at 12:30 again.
Hmm.
Definitely. And a request to everybody, when you guys are showing your solutions, turn on your webcam. We would definitely want to add a face to the name and really see what you've built as a solution. Again, nobody's judging anyone here. It's a learning process, so just feel free. It's okay to make mistakes.
Guys, please let us know when you are ready.
I think we've got 9 minutes. We'll give you 9 more minutes.
Yes.
If you need me to switch over to a slide, I'm just going to do that, so that just so it comes in handy.
Just please.
Yeah, that's the solution framework. That's the set of steps that you should be using, um, and use verbs here to identify the process flow.
We have one more question from Samir.
Yes.
He joined late, so he's asking something. Can you please help me understand which is 1, 2, and 3 referring to? So 1, 2, 3 means, is it about the same slide?
Yeah, I think it's basically a problem state. It's the entire, it's all a single problem statement. I've just broken it down into smaller
Yes.
pieces, so it's consumable. It's in understood. Usually, it's actually it was an entire document, and I couldn't fit that in, so I just kind of broke it down to maximize the real estate of the presentation.
So Samir, it's a three segment for this particular slide. We could not split into three separate slides, so he put into a like significant number 1, 2, 3, where we can identify. These are three segment of this particular use case. I hope it will help you. Okay, good. Yeah, I think attendees are making progress. They are understanding. Mhm.
My recommendation, and this is something that I have, what I have experienced and learned in my journey is, whenever you get a chance, an opportunity to work, in pre-sales at your organization, please do that, because that is what really hones your skill in terms of solution architecture. So I know it's a thankless job. Not many people want to do that and like it, but the amount of learning that you gain from that is tremendous. It's not something that you will gain from always being a part of the delivery team. So again, maybe a sidebar or like a quick tip. If you get an opportunity to work in pre-sales at your organization, just grab it. Don't think about it. You might screw it up a couple of times. It might not be a very pleasant experience, but the fact is you will learn tremendously and grow as a professional.
So, Samir, if you want to speak something, please.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, hi.
So one is referring to, how we are going to define the org strategy or all those things, right? Correct me if I'm wrong
Yeah.
somewhere, right? And we need to, define the strategy, whether it's, we are going to use single org or multi org, how the business is scattered among that. So I think, are we discuss solution now afterwards, or how it would be like?
Yeah. So what we are going to do is we are going to, again, this is a more, the idea was to give you a
Uh-huh,
feel of how you would um, really encounter a problem statement, and how you would
uh-huh,
transpire that into a solution blueprint. So
uh-huh,
that was so at the end of this time,
uh-huh.
any and everybody who wants to present, we'll give them a couple of minutes, because there are so many people, who
Mhm,
wants to present can unmute, and we'll give them 2 minutes to present what they have identified and found.
mhm,
Okay. Um,
Okay.
as far as your question related to multi-org strategy goes, where you're
Mm-hmm.
saying that there are multiple production orgs, if you
Mm-hmm.
if you look at our current framework that has been outlined, it takes care of that, and I'll explain to you how. When you
Mm-hmm.
look at systems, you don't just look at other non-Salesforce systems. It could actually be a Salesforce Marketing Cloud instance. It could actually be two Sales Cloud instances, one for one for
One for
um,
franchisee and one for
correct.
internal
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
self-owned. Yeah.
correct. So when you look at systems, look at it more holistically. Don't just think of it saying that, okay, any non-Salesforce system is a system. No, look at
No.
everything, because Marketing
Mhm.
Cloud to me is also a system.
Mhm.
A Service Cloud to me is also a system. A different
Mhm.
sales org to me is also a system. So that's how I would kind of put that together. Yeah.
Mhm.
Does it answer your question, Samir?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? We still have, I think, about 3 to 4 minutes remaining. So we kind of it's 12:27 in my watch. About 3 minutes, 3 more minutes, and then at 12:30 we will just kind of pause, and then we'll get to the solution showcase. So I also had an example of what an system architecture in the real world really looks like. Of course, like I said, if you can do it on paper, you can do it with all the other fancy tools that are available. But this is an example of what a true real world solution system looks like. System architecture. This has a middleware. This has some data residency aspect. It has a system, the different systems that are there. It has the core CRM uh, solution or the CRM stack. But within CRM, there is service, there is Tableau, and then I think like Samir mentioned, you could have multiple blocks here of CRM in case it's a multi-org strategy, right? And then you could have specific users and each of these user personas and the channels that are there. So if you look at it, it kind of is just a very fancy and very very easy on the eyes in terms of the actual diagram. We've used lucid to build this, but again, you can use anything that you're comfortable with. There's so many nice good tools, very capable tools, of efficient tools that are available today. So that is an example of a system architecture. This is an example of an diagram, and again, for people who are aspiring architects or want to know about architecture, Salesforce already provides you with ready to use data models, and these templates are also lucid chart um, compliant. So basically, when you, let's say, you want to make a data model now, you don't have to uh, really start from ground up. You can simply, if you have a lucid chart account, you can log into your account and go to architects.salesforce.com and go to diagrams, and then there is a library available there, and depending on use case, if you there will be a link provided below each diagram, which will give you the lucid chart template that you can download. Okay, I'll show that to you in a bit, but again, and then you can just use that to modify it rather than just trying to build everything ground up. Okay, so just let me see if I can switch screens and still show that to you. um, Architects, but for the session right now, and even for the assignment that Virendra will share, we don't expect you to use lucid chart or anything. We only want it to be done via plain pen and paper. That's the best tool that you can have. Okay, guys, am I audible? I don't know, for some
Yes,
reason.
yes, you are audible.
Okay, Salesforce architects, it's architect.salesforce.com. Yeah, it's architect.salesforce.com. My bad. There was an extra S in the URL. So if you, they also give you the framework. So there is a well architected framework also provided by Salesforce, and it just provides you with, for each of the blocks that you're using, trust, easy, adaptable, what aspects really come into play. So that is what this framework defines. Okay. I was talking about the reference architecture gallery and the data model gallery. So if you go to data model over here, there is, if you look at each of the product, there are templates. Let me pick something which is simple and palatable. Let's pick Sales Cloud. So we go to, sorry, if you go to opportunity forecasting, so there's this data model which is right here, gives you a ready to use explanation. And then there are uh, yeah, there's the lucid chart template that I was talking about. So if you just kind of open it up, I have lucid chart, I believe, already logged into my instance. So just open up the entire thing in a lucid chart diagram, which is now editable, and you can make changes to that. So just for everybody's knowledge, something that you can leverage. Yeah. Okay. So that's that. Yeah, I think we're over time. I would request everybody to keep their pens down, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Go back to, and now if we can, whosoever wants to kind of present their solution, and please don't feel shy. I'm sure Virendra has some goodies and gifts planned for you. Sorry, Virendra, I'm just putting you on the spot, and you know
No,
I really don't know if he has, but I'm sorry. Usually as a part of these exercises, they do so. But but yeah, anybody who'd like to mention or showcase their solution, more than happy to.
the chat is open for you. Please say if you are ready to speak, if you are ready to share something.
Yeah, you could just put it in the chat window, and then Virendra can unmute you. All right. Anybody who wants to try, come on. Either you decide or I pick. Democracy ends at a point. So you decide.
You can pick some any of the one.
All right. Uh,
We have something.
that's okay. All right, Samir. That's a good one. Yeah, that's okay. It doesn't have to be, and I understand 30 minutes is not enough to come up with a very full, an exhaustive solution, but at least, that definitely kind of uh, helps set the context. It'll get you a feel of, what are the things that you should have considered, missed, or anything. Not just so, Samir. Yeah, go ahead. Why don't you share your webcam and show us what you've done it on paper?
I haven't done on paper. Let me share my screen.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly whatever I have done on the paper, I just want and draw in front of you, entire screen, and
Yeah.
share. Right?
Right. We get 2 minutes per speaker. We don't want to, you know, we want to ensure that everybody gets, or at
So,
least most of the people get an opportunity. So yeah, go ahead, please.
no, why? One sec. I don't know why it is taking. Oh, no. That's charisma.
So
Right.
Samir,
This is
if you've not drawn
just
anything, then I don't think. Have you
no,
do you
no.
have something on?
Okay. No, I have on the paper, but I just want to draw the things in front of you right now. If it
No,
is
no,
fine,
that's
right?
okay. We
Otherwise,
don't
we
we don't.
can.
Yeah. So what I would suggest is you can unmute and share your screen and just show us the paper and just explain to us what's written in the paper. That's perfectly okay. We don't want it to be fancy at all.
Okay, but unfortunately, the my camera is not working.
Okay.
That's the issue I have on my personal
All right.
laptop.
All right, then probably some other time. Yeah. So does somebody else want to give it a shot, please?
So
Ruchir. Yes. Yes, Ruchir. I think we have a
you're on.
rest of people. We can unmute rest of the people. Sorry, mute rest of the people. Sorry.
Hello,
Yes. Hi,
hello
Ruchir.
everyone. Like I just tried, like not much experience,
That's
but
fine.
giving a try. So, like as
Fantastic.
you suggested, with a model, like first identify with the
You want to hold up the paper?
yeah, yeah, here
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Fantastic.
So
Just walk us through.
yeah, so first, as you mentioned on the first go with the systems, identify the systems and objects and
Yeah.
integration framework. So in your use case, there are four systems we are using. Like first one is ERP, where all the billing and invoice things are going to store,
Mhm.
and like it is already present. And the second one is lab Cs, okay, lab system. So where lab operations and lab results are there.
Right.
Third one is the .NET website,
Right.
from where a user can might be like I am not sure, but might raise the case from there, like service request you can say, and
Okay.
book all these things.
Okay.
And fourth system, like the company need to introduce the Salesforce as the unified system.
Mm-hmm.
So and for integration we have three systems, like for the integration we need to do with the lapses. Second was the one is the ERP, and third one is the .NET. Like
Okay.
we have the experience cloud also, but .NET website is already built, so it depends on the customer whether he wants to go with the .NET website only, or he wants to try our experience portal also.
Okay. Fantastic.
So like also give me a second. Also there is a like you have mentioned all user needs to logged in with the one like AD active directory only. So we will use the single sign on the
Mm-hmm.
Salesforce and everywhere. And after that, like this is my diagram, like not too much clear, but so in
Okay.
Salesforce, we will use the Sales Cloud
Uh-huh.
with some custom
What,
object.
what edition of Sales Cloud? Virendra, just make sure that you do a quick time check. It's 2 minutes. So yeah, sorry. What edition of Sales Cloud?
Take more time now. Sure.
Like what edition of Sales Cloud? I'm not sure.
Okay. So that's that. So the reason why I'm asking these questions is this is something
Yeah,
that you can
from
think of.
architect point of view, I agree. Like
Yeah.
this needs to be answered, but
Yeah. Okay.
and like there are multiple integrations. So I believe we need to go with the middleware, either MuleSoft or Boomi,
Okay. Why would you recommend a middleware?
because like there are multiple integrations. And right now, like on what projects I have done, like client, if we have multiple integration, they our client wants to go with the middleware to make it easy, and scalability, and to for the maintenance I can say.
Okay.
And then we have the like after middleware we have two system ERP and
So what middleware are you recommending?
MuleSoft or Boomi. Like I have
It can't be
little
or. It has to be one recommendation. So what is it that you're recommending?
like
So see, when you're providing any kind of architecture, it can't be this or that. Or
exactly.
when you propose something, you say this, it can be this or it can be this, but my recommendation is this, right? So,
Yeah,
and there
agree.
will be reasons, like I said, identify your trade-offs, identify your assumptions.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you could very well say, I know that for now in today's problem statement we never talked about commercial aspect, but that is a viability solution. Viability is a very important thing in the practical world, right?
Right,
So
right, agree.
sometimes that could be a trade-off. Sometimes the lack of skill could be a trade-off. Sometimes just easy integratability within, like for example, MuleSoft, it's a Salesforce product.
Salesforce
So
Pro.
it's very well integrated in the in the product ecosystem. So that could be. So there are, and these are just examples again,
Yeah,
but these are certain trade-offs that you should and need to consider when you're kind of crafting the solution. So it can't be or. There has to be a lot of clarity. Yeah.
right,
but,
right.
but good. What personas did you consider though? Just
Like
curious.
personas, there are give me a second, I have also written like CEO, head of sales, chief customer officer,
Mm-hmm.
and like service team is also there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. What others? These are all mentioned. I know there are other personas that are there. What are those?
Uh, like in 30 minutes, I am able to do this only.
Okay, okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
No, but a good job, good job. I think there was a lot of things that you identified. So good. I hope it kind of gave you a feel of how do you really use the problem statement and extract information to kind of culminate and craft a solution blueprint. So,
Right.
but good one, yeah.
Thank you, Ruchir. Can you please
And
present your paper one more time, please, in front of camera?
yeah,
So this is exactly the hard work you were doing. Thank you.
this one, and there is one more.
Yeah,
Great work, Ruchir. Great work.
Yeah.
Thank you
yeah.
for.
Good job, good job. All right. Who else? Come on.
Okay.
All right. Somebody else wants to go. We have.
If you are not ready with any of the solution, if you want to speak something, whatever you think about that use case, please speak. Okay, even Sami, do you want to speak something? If you are not ready with your diagram, please speak whatever you have presented or whatever you were trying.
To present.
Yes. Let me enable him one more time to speak.
Okay, Shubham wants to. So we'll let Samir speak and then we'll quickly give an opportunity to Shubham. He's just messaged.
Okay, Subham.
Just a quick time check. We are at 12:42. I think we've probably we'll just be able to take one more speaker, right? So Virendra, you so
Okay,
much.
I can think of the persona related to one's customer executive, right, who is taking care of cases, service agent, what we can say. And then we can also think about executive, right, who is actually maintaining those franchisees or this what we have cell
More like
phone.
a franchisee manager. The
Yeah,
franchise,
manager.
right?
I'm not sure whether we have any hierarchy over there because the problem statement is very big about that. So I cannot judge whether we have any more persona, but if we dig down deeper, definitely we'll get some more persona, which is going to help us to design a proper system. Uh,
So
One more
Samir,
thing,
in
right?
that case,
We should have a integration persona as well. That should be separated from every other thing, right?
an app. Yeah,
Because we have a lot of integration, so we just need to keep that thing as a persona so that we will not forget to create those users or profile or related information what system is looking for.
yeah,
That we need to give,
yeah.
right?
So Samir, just
And
just on that store, the franchise stores. See, it's always a good idea to kind of assume at least a one level hierarchy. Like a store
yeah,
manager or a franchise store manager and a franchise employee, right?
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
because that will be important for you eventually when you make your licensing inventory or like your
Yes, yes, exactly,
the
exactly.
license list, the bill of material, typically what it is called as.
Mhm.
You will say that, okay, do I need two licenses per store? Do I need one license per store? Do I need how many? And what are the kind of licenses? So
Mhm.
that's why
Mhm.
that is something that you can assume. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good.
And apart from that, I think, mostly when we are recommending solution, we should give the priorities to Salesforce product. So, what, Ruchir was suggesting, right? Boomi as MuleSoft. So I think Salesforce product work very nicely hand in hand with other Salesforce product. So definitely I'll suggest for MuleSoft rather than Boomi or SnapLogic or any other tool. Right, I'll go for that because I did those kind of mistakes earlier as well, and we get into an issue by the end of the day. So better use Salesforce product. But yeah,
So
when we have customer constraint, definitely we need to leverage other options as well. But yeah, always we need to give preference to Salesforce product.
yeah, I think the guiding principle there would be, um,
Hmm.
use something which is out of the box. Okay. uh,
Hmm.
but like I said, for this discussion I specifically put commercials outside the scope of this
Outside
discussion.
you.
But eventually when you do things in the real world as an architect, like I said, your
Mhm.
solution has to
Mhm.
be robust, but it also has to be viable
Right.
technically, commercially. So that may come in as a factor. So a
Yes,
general
exactly.
guiding principle to building things on the Salesforce stack is try to use something which is out of the box, but if it
Out of
doesn't
work.
fit your guardrails or preferences in terms of commercials, um,
Hmm.
product scale or availability, product affinity. A lot of times
Yeah.
people also choose products based on their comfort with the product. For example,
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
because their internal marketing team uses HubSpot and they're very comfortable with, they may not go with marketing
Hmm.
cloud. So I'm just
Exactly.
giving you
Exactly.
again, it's a trade-off, right? So very
Yeah.
important to identify your assumptions and trade-offs and list them down very clearly. But a fair point. But that's how you usually put it as a guiding principle rather than a mandate. It's just a direction of thinking that I'm providing here. Yeah.
So I'm not assuming because we did use existing tool what is already available in the system, right? When we are working for a
Correct.
customer, and if they are already using a tool,
Yeah.
right? Why we ask them, no, we are not using this, we just go for that. So we try to fix that thing within the frame if that is possible.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Good. Okay. Who's since we have limited time,
Over
Shubham.
to you.
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead, Shubham? Thanks for that, Samir. Good. Yes, Shubham. You want to share your webcam and share what your solution is?
Your, it sounds your mic is not working. There is some
Correct.
background noise or echo. Can you please fix? Okay. So do you need more time, Shubham, to fix it, or
Yeah, I think we can, in the interest of time, and I'm sure you have a couple of things to address,
yes?
continue. But thank you so much, Shubham. We'll be definitely be interested. If you want, you can email us solution. We can take a look at it. Um, but again, thank you so much. I think that was pretty much the end of my presentation. Thank you for you know enduring me for the past 1.5 hours. Uh, I hope you learned something worthwhile on a Saturday morning. um, I will kind of hand it over back to Virendra. But before that, like I said, this doesn't end here. What we also want to do, and I'm sure Virendra is going to talk about that, is we will be providing you, with a problem statement, and I'll let Virendra talk about it in case in terms of how he intends to do that and share that problem statement with you. But it is going to be a very similar industry related problem statement. I want all of you to take out the time, and probably we'll give you a time of another couple of days, maybe a week, and then by next week you can submit. You can do the same thing, same exercise on paper, and submit your solution. Take pictures of that solution, put it in a Word document, and Virendra has a form through which you can submit. Once you do that, we're going to evaluate and identify the best solution. Yeah. So um, again, thank you very much. Really appreciate. And it's been a while that I've been doing a few online sessions, and this was like a breath of fresh air. um, uh, I personally had a very good time, and I learned a lot in this process. So thank you, and you guys have a wonderful day, and keep thinking like an architect. Virendra, over to you.
Thank you, Jigar, for. Okay. Okay, we have something to announce for today as well. So, as we were requesting all the attendees to share the like solution whatever they are designing, but feel free to share letter as well. We have something for you. So we will share the entire document, like one of the use case Zigar shared over the session today. We have similar kind of problem statement for you. What you need to do? Let me just share my screen and talk about next. Is my screen visible? Jigar, can you please confirm, is my screen visible or not?
Yes, Virendra, it is. It is.
Thank you. So you all aware about the this particular thing? We are for this series we are distributing some certificates and voucher, and we are in the session 2. So for session 2 as well, as Jigar mentioned, we have something. So what you need to do, you need to submit your solution for this particular problem statement, and problem statement I will share over the email. So what you need to do, you need to follow this particular form link and submit your solution by next Sunday, next week Sunday. Okay. So based upon the this particular response, we will provide a certification voucher one of the attendees who is uh, creating a best solution. Okay. So what you need to do, as Jigar mentioned, we don't need a fancy tools to design that solution. You can design a solution on paper itself. You can capture the paper screenshot like today Ruchir was sharing, or Samir was trying to share something. So you need to do in the same way. Just capture all the things in on paper and share the photo for that particular paper, or maybe put into a Word form or PDF form to submit. So this is the form link you need to follow. Okay, another things, we have session number 5, which is belongs to no slide session. But whatever questions you have in your mind, this is for this is the QA form for you. What you can do, you can submit all your questions. So let me open both this link here as well. So this is for the Q&A form link. What you need to do, you need to submit your name, email, and other details. What is your role, what kind of experience you have, type of questions. Either you are facing some issue with your data model design, security and access, integration strategy, any of the questions or category you have. If which is not belongs to the mentions category, please feel free to mention in other section if you have any other questions to design or solution something. The later you need to mention the business scenario where you are focusing on. Okay, this is the Q&A form you need to submit. Okay, so for the certification voucher, as today we have not designed or communicated with all the attendees, so you have another opportunity for 1 week. Please follow this particular form link. You can capture from the slide. I will share the slide as well. What you need to do, you need to submit your solution in this solution document. Okay, prepare your solution, upload it here. We will review and reward you accordingly. So this is what we have. And once again, thank you, Zigar, and all thank you all the participants for this particular session and this journey or series. So what next we have, we have next session which is belongs to integration and other things. So please stay tuned and register yourself, because for this tool, if you are not if you have not registered